Before fame had a formula, before stardom had a price, there was Clara Bow, the girl who invented it all. In the roaring 1,920 seconds, she was the heartbeat of Hollywood. The camera adored her. The nation worshipped her. Every man wanted her. Every woman wanted to be her. They called her the It Girl because she had something no one could define. Charm, heat, electricity. She could walk into a room and the world would stop breathing. But fame wasn't kind to Clara. It never is to the ones who build it first. Behind the laughter, behind the red lips and the sparkling eyes, was a girl who had seen too much darkness to ever believe in light. A child born into poverty, raised in violence, and left alone in madness. Hollywood didn't discover Clara Bow, it devoured her. At her peak, she was making millions, working nonstop, adored by everyone. And then, as quickly as she rose, she vanished. Destroyed by gossip, betrayed by the studios that made her, and forgotten by the system she helped create. She was the first woman to make America fall in love with fame and the first to learn how cruel that love could be. Clara Bow, the girl who gave Hollywood its heartbeat and paid with her own. Before the cameras, before the fame, Clara Bow was just a frightened little girl growing up in Brooklyn, a place where dreams didn't survive. She was born in 1905 into a world of noise, hunger, and heat. Her father was a violent drunk. Her mother, a woman haunted by mental illness, would slip in and out of psychotic breaks, sometimes turning her rage on the only child she had. There were no bedtime stories, no soft voices, no safety. Clara later said, "We were poor, but that wasn't the problem. The problem was fear." When she was 16, her mother tried to kill her. She woke in the night to find a knife hovering above her chest. Clara survived barely, and the next morning, she left home for good. She was damaged, fragile, hungry, and breathtaking. Hollywood, as it always does, smelled blood and saw beauty. At 17, she entered a film magazine contest. The prize, a screen test at a studio in New York. When she walked onto the set, the director whispered, "My God, the camera loves her." That was all it took. Clara Bow, a girl who had nothing, became everything. Her rise was meteoric. Within 2 years, she was the biggest box office draw in America. Her energy was electric, her laughter infectious. She wasn't polished like other actresses. She was wild, real, unfiltered. She was sex appeal before the term even existed. The 1,920 seconds loved her for it. The jazz age needed a face, and Clara Bow became its pulse, the girl who represented freedom, rebellion, and joy. But fame is never free. The studios worked her to exhaustion, 20 films in 2 years, endless photo shoots, fake relationships, fabricated scandals. Behind the smiles, she was collapsing. She once told a friend, "They said I was lucky. I worked till I forgot who I was." While the world celebrated her, Clara carried the weight of the past. She could never escape poverty, trauma, and the voice of her mother still echoing in her mind. Hollywood gave her everything, except peace. By the mid-1,920 seconds, Clara Bow was everywhere. She wasn't just a star, she was the symbol of the jazz age. With her bobbed hair, fiery eyes, and careless grin, she embodied everything America secretly wanted to be: wild, free, alive. When she appeared on screen, audiences didn't see an actress, they saw themselves, unchained. In a single decade, she made over 50 films. She was the face of modern womanhood, the spark that lit 1,000 headlines. People didn't just love Clara Bow, they wanted to touch her, to feel what she felt, to live how she lived. The press called her the It Girl, after her breakout role in It 1927, the story of a shop girl whose magnetism drives men to madness. It was meant to be fiction. It became prophecy. But with fame came obsession. Every man wanted her. Every paper wanted her downfall. And Hollywood, a world built on secrets, began feeding on her. She was accused of sleeping her way to the top, of being too wild, of being unclean. When the truth was simpler, she was just honest in a world terrified of women who didn't pretend. Behind the cameras, Clara's exhaustion grew. She slept only a few hours a night. She drank to numb the pressure, to silence the noise. The studio called her difficult. What they meant was tired. Then came the tabloids. They published her private letters, her confessions, even lies so grotesque they would end a career today. The public that once adored her turned cruel. The men who chased her now condemned her. The women who cheered her freedom now called her indecent. In 1931, at only 26 years old, Clara Bow walked away. No grand farewell, No final curtain. She simply vanished from the screen. Hollywood moved on, it always does. But for the first time, the Dream Factory had tasted guilt, because the girl who had given it life was now the ghost it couldn't forget. Clara retreated to a ranch in Nevada with her husband, cowboy actor Rex Bell. She stopped giving interviews. She refused to talk about her films. When reporters found her years later and asked why she left, she said quietly, "Fame didn't destroy me. It just stopped being fun." But that wasn't the whole truth. The real story was darker, buried in whispers of mental illness, betrayal, and the unbearable weight of being the first woman the world truly watched. When the lights went out, Clara Bow didn't just disappear from Hollywood, she disappeared from herself. The silence, after years of flashbulbs and applause, was deafening. At first, she tried to be happy. She married Rex Bell, moved to a ranch in Nevada, and traded red carpets for quiet mornings and open skies. For a while, it worked. But ghosts don't vanish when the cameras stop. The childhood trauma she had buried beneath fame began to surface. The sleepless nights returned. The panic attacks. The fear that everyone was watching, even when no one was. Clara had lived in front of millions, but now she couldn't bear to face a single mirror. She was only in her 30s when doctors diagnosed her with schizophrenia and severe depression. In truth, she wasn't crazy. She was broken by a system that never taught her how to be human. She checked into institutions for months at a time, writing letters to her husband that read like pleas for peace. One read simply, "I don't want to live this way anymore. I just want to rest." Hollywood, of course, had already forgotten her. While her name built the industry, her story became a whisper, a cautionary tale studios used to warn other actresses about being too free. Meanwhile, the new stars Jean Harlow, Marilyn Monroe carried her torch without even knowing it. Her image, her confidence, her sexuality all borrowed from the blueprint Clara Bow created. But no one mentioned her name. By the 1,940 seconds, her husband had entered politics, leaving her alone most of the time. The ranch became her world, a quiet cage where the sound of applause was replaced by the wind through the desert grass. When she finally moved to Los Angeles in her later years, it wasn't to return to fame. It was to find peace before death. She lived quietly, rarely speaking, occasionally recognized by strangers who couldn't believe the it girl was now an old woman in a grocery store. In 1965, Clara Bow died of a heart attack in her sleep. She was 60. There was no crowd, no funeral of stars, just silence, the kind she had spent her whole life trying to escape. But even in that silence, her legacy whispered on. Every flashbulb, every red carpet, every modern celebrity owes something to the girl who taught the world how to watch and how to want. She once said, "I became a movie star because I couldn't be me, but in front of the camera, I finally could." And maybe that's what fame really is, a way for lost souls to be seen, just once, before the world looks away. From this channel's point of view, Clara Bow wasn't just the first movie star, she was the first warning Hollywood ever ignored. Before influencers, before paparazzi, before the word celebrity even existed, there was Clara. She invented fame, and she was the first to discover what it costs. Clara Bow changed the way people looked at women on screen. Before her, actresses were porcelain, distant, untouchable, proper. She was the first to be real. She sweated, she laughed, she flirted. She looked directly into the camera and dared the audience to fall in love with her, and they did. But the same world that worshipped her body feared her freedom. She was poor. She was emotional. She was unpolished. And Hollywood punished her for it. Every scandal, every headline, every cruel lie about her personal life came from one simple fact. Clara Bow refused to behave. In a world that wanted dolls, she was human. And that made her dangerous. Today, we call it celebrity culture. But Clara lived it first. The obsession, the exposure, the pressure to smile when your soul is cracking. She was the original template for every young star who would come after, from Marilyn Monroe to Britney Spears. Different century, same machine. Clara's tragedy wasn't just that she was forgotten. It's that she was copied. Her energy, her vulnerability, her wildness, all repackaged, rebranded, resold by an industry that erased her name but never stopped using her image. When we look back now, we see what Hollywood couldn't. That behind the glitter, fame was always a form of hunger, and Clara Bow was its first meal. But she was also its first truth. Because even as the world judged her, she never hid who she was. And in that honesty, she became eternal. She was the blueprint for every woman who dared to be seen, loved, and misunderstood. And that's why, nearly a century later, her face still feels familiar, because in some way, we're all still watching her story play out over and over again. Clara Bow didn't just invent fame, she defined what it meant to survive it. When the world first saw Clara Bow, it was like watching lightning trapped in film. Bright, wild, untouchable. And then, like lightning, she was gone. No one taught her how to be famous, she invented it. But no one taught her how to survive fame either. Now, when her films flicker on old screens, It Wings, Mantrap, you can still feel her there. That spark, that laughter that doesn't sound rehearsed, that gaze that looks right through the camera, like she's talking to us from another lifetime. She was the first woman to make America fall in love with freedom. And the first woman Hollywood taught how to be afraid of it. In a world built on illusion, Clara was the only one who was real. And that's what destroyed her and made her unforgettable. The fame she created outlived her by decades. It still breathes today, in every red carpet, every magazine cover, every viral moment. But no one ever shines quite like the first star to burn. Maybe she was never meant to last. Maybe she was meant to remind us that behind every perfect smile is a cost, that every dream factory runs on someone's heartbreak. Clara Bow was the girl who gave Hollywood its soul and then lost hers to it. She didn't fade, she disappeared into legend. And that's what fame truly is. Some stars burn out, some are forgotten, but a few like Clara keep flickering in the dark, whispering to us still. Some stories fade. Some stories are never meant to be known. But now, you know.